Hello grade 6. Welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School and welcome to your grade 6 English First Additional Language lesson. Today is a reading lesson. I am teacher Fiona, your English grade 6 First Additional Language teacher. Hello. Here is a message from Africa Teen Geeks. We will no longer be making our Zoom links public. Sign up to our newsletter to receive the Zoom links and regular updates about our free digital classes offered to grade R to 12 learners during the lockdown and beyond. I'm hoping that your parents have already done that. Here's what we will be doing in today's reading lesson. We're working from Term 2, Week 5 and 6 of the CAPS curriculum for reading and viewing. So it's Social Text Week and part of that is diary writing. So we will be reviewing the elements of a diary. We'll have a quick discussion about the layout of a diary. And we'll also have a quick discussion about problem solving because our topic for this week is, are you a problem solver? So you will make a prediction about today's story and you'll read a story aloud with me. You'll review some of the vocabulary in the story and you'll answer questions about the story. You'll sequence events in the story and you'll also ask one another questions about the story. That's a lot to do in one lesson, right? So let's get started. So you heard me mention the word social text. Social and personal text, they go together. What is meant by social and personal text? Social and personal text refers to things like letters and personal diaries. So last week we read and wrote a friendly letter. This week we will listen to, read and write personal diary entries. Great. What is a diary? A diary is a written record of personal events, thoughts and feelings. Perhaps you even keep a diary yourself. It's like a friend because you can share your innermost thoughts and ideas. Usually you'll write the date in the top left corner so that you'll always know when you wrote what. You'll write your diary in the first person using I, me, my because it's your diary. You might even start with Dear Diary or something like that so that you feel like you're writing to an unknown person who's interested in you. And all the events in a diary usually follow in sequence. You got it? Great. Let's have a quick discussion about problem solving. What do you think is meant by the words problem solving? I can't hear you, but I would like you to call it out so that you're practicing your listening and speaking and you're also involving your brain. You're getting active about this. What do you think is meant by the words problem solving? What did you learn from yesterday's two stories about problem solving? Remember we had Bongani with his problem with his family and we had Himani with the school's problem about no drinking water. What did you learn from those two? What do you think the best thing to do is when you meet a problem? It's not worth screaming, crying, shouting, yelling. It's not worth doing those things because they don't solve problems. What do you think the best thing is to do when you meet a problem? Can you make a list of useful steps? So yesterday you heard about some steps. Can you remember them? What can you remember about them? Can you make a list in your head? Call it out? And of course the big question, are you a problem solver? Great. I'm sure you're going to remember this chart from yesterday's problem-solving stories. It's got some steps on it. Let's just read them. Identify the problem. Find out everything you can about the problem. Discuss it. Decide on the most suitable idea. Try it out. If you succeed, very good. If not, try another idea. Got it? Okay. You'll see that today's story also has a problem that needs to be solved. I wonder if you can predict what today's story is about. Look at the title, The Children from the Hills. Look at the pictures. In that first picture, there's some children. Who do they live with? What are they doing? In the second picture, the children seem to be in town. There's a bus there and a bit of a garden. And one of the girls is writing or has a book. What's that book about? In the third picture, she's answering. She's writing in her diary. And in the third picture, there's somebody ill in bed. Who's that person? Is that person related to the children, or is it someone completely different? And what's that in the corner? There's something pink. What do you think happens in this story? Do you want to make a prediction? I've put the clock on. Let's see if you can write a prediction about what you think happens in 1 or 2 sentences, and then we'll check when we read to see if you're correct. You're writing? I think that ... Okay, have you got your sentence down? Good. I'd like you to read aloud with me and practice your reading. Remember to use appropriate pronunciation, fluency, and expression. So we'll read together, okay? The kids from the hills. The kids from the hills, as they were called, lived in the hills next to a city. They had no house to live in, so they made the hillside their home. They had no parents to look after them. Shame. They look pretty sad, don't they? Each day they did the washing, cleaning, dusting, and moving things about. They hung clothes to dry in the sun. They worked hard and well. Then they walked to the city. They found scraps of food to eat and valuable items in the trash. They had to walk very far each day. When they made it to the city, which was a very, very long walk from their home, the kids were tired and frustrated. One of the little girls wrote about it in her diary. 20th of March, 2018. Dear Diary, sometimes I feel so tired and sad. We hardly found any food today. All I want is a mummy to look after us. From me. One of their favorite activities was reading picture books they found in the rubbish. They enjoyed looking at the pictures and trying to teach each other to read. There was a woman who lived in one of the big houses. She was sick. She heard the kids outside going through the dustbins. She wished she could get up to talk to them, but she could barely get out of bed. She wrote in her diary, 21st of March 2018. Dear diary, I feel so sick and lonely. Day after day I cannot get out of bed for very long. I wish I could get better. I long for a friend. From me. As she wrote, her pink shawl flew out the window. The kids caught the pink shawl. They stood on each other's shoulders and returned it through the window. Fascinated, the woman asked the kids who they were. They told her where they lived. The woman felt a lot of sympathy for them. As soon as she felt well enough, she gathered strength one day and went to the hills to find the kids and help them with their chores so that they could finally get some rest. After this, she took them food once a week. She also taught the kids how to read the words in the books properly, and day by day their reading improved. They could now understand the stories much better. The woman looked forward to her visits. Very soon after the woman read to the kids themselves began to enjoy the books more and create their own stories. With more visits, the woman brought more books for the kids, and they took it in turns to read their adventures. Helping the kids helped the woman to get better from her illness. And when the woman was almost well again, the kids visited her to cheer her up. The woman was very happy to have the children come and visit her because they enjoyed each other's company so much. The little girl wrote in her diary, 20th of May 2018, Dear Diary, I feel so happy. I love Agnes's visits. I hope she will get better soon. I wish she could be our mommy. From me, Cindy. The woman wrote in her diary, 21st of May 2018, Dear Diary, I feel as though I'm getting stronger every day. I love these children. They bring joy. I wish they could be my children. From me, Agnes. What do you think happens next? What do you think happens next? Call it out. Great. Here's a suggestion. So Agnes has identified the problem. She would love to have the children, and the children would also love to stay with her. So now she probably needs to find out everything she can about the children. Where are they from? How does she go about getting them to come and stay with her? She'd probably have to do a lot of discussion with different people and decide on the most suitable idea. You can't always just adopt children, but sometimes you can foster children. She'd have to decide on the most suitable idea, then she'd have to try it out. And if it worked out, very good, and if not, then she'd have to try another idea. What are your thoughts? Let's look at some of the words that you probably noticed and wondered what they meant in this text. Do you remember reading the word valuable? Valuable? It's worth a lot of money. Maybe her shawl was valuable. Trash? Waste material or rubbish. Rubbish bins. Trash. Frustrated. The children were frustrated by the time they got to the city. What does that mean? They were feeling or expressing distress and annoyance, resulting from an inability to change a situation or achieve something. There was nothing they could do about their situation. They had to do it. They had to go to the city and go through the bins. Shawl. A piece of fabric worn by women over the shoulders or the head. Fascinated. When you are fascinated, you take a special interest in something. Sympathy. Feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. The woman Agnes, she felt sympathy for these children living all by themselves in the hills. Right, got that? Good. Here are some questions about the story. Have you got your pen and paper ready so you can fill in your answers? The 4 children lived in the... What do you think? The 4 children lived in the hills. Number 2. The children looked through other people's every day. Which word goes in there? The children looked through people's trash every day. Number 3. The thing the children wanted the most was a... What do you think? The thing the children wanted the most was a mommy. Number 4. The woman in the big house was... What do you think? The woman in the big house was ill. Did you get all those right? Then let's carry on. The children met the lady because of her... How did they meet her? Because of her? The children met the lady because of her pink shawl. Number 6. The children were when the lady brought them food one day. The children were surprised when the lady brought them food one day. Number 7. The woman taught the children to properly. What did she teach them to do? The woman taught the children to read properly. Number 8. The woman wished they could be one day. The woman wished they could be her children one day. Did you get all those? Great! Now that we have read the story, it's time to put the events into the correct order. The events would make up the plot of the story. So let's see if you can remember the different steps of the story. Let's read them together first. Number A. The lady met the children when her shawl flew out the window and they returned it. Number B. The woman in the big house was ill. Number C. The lady grew to love the children and wished they were her own. Number D. The woman visited the children in the hills and taught them to read. Number E. Both the lady and the little girl kept a diary that showed they were lonely. Number F. The 4 children lived in the hills and collected rubbish in the city every day. Right, you've got all those. I'm going to give you a bit of time now to work out the order. You finished? Great. Oh, we'll give you a bit more time. Here are the answers. I wonder which one you chose first. Usually, when you're telling a story, you'll introduce the characters, the main characters of the story first. So I said number F should be first. The 4 children lived in the hills and collected rubbish in the city every day. What would you have put first? Did you have that one as well? Then I said number B, the woman in the big house was ill, introducing the other character in the story. Number E, both the lady and the little girl kept a diary that showed they were lonely. That one could go there, but it could also go somewhere else. Number A, the lady met the children when her shawl flew out the window and they returned it. Did you put that one there? Number D, the woman visited the children in the hills and taught them to read. And number C, the lady grew to love the children and wished they were her own children. So how did you do? Did you get a similar arrangement? F, B, E, A, D, C. Great. Earlier you answered questions about the story. Now you're going to make up questions about the story using the question words. Right, let's get to the questions that you're going to ask. What questions would you ask about the story? Whenever you think about questions, you think about the question words. 5 was and a ha. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. What questions would you ask about the story starting with those words? I'd like you to choose 4 of those words and create a question with each of the 4 words, question words. Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of time. Okay, let's see what you wrote. Well, let's compare what you wrote to what I wrote. So for who, I said, who were the characters in the story? What did you write? For what, I said, what did the children do every day to find food? What did you write? You could have had a completely different question. For where, I put, where did the children live? What did you write for where? And for how, I said, how did the children meet the ill woman in the story? What did you write for how? Well done. Here is our last activity for the day. I'd love you to write a quick diary entry to finish off our story today. Write a quick diary from the little girl's diary a year later, dated the 20th of May 2019. What do you think happened? And now a year later the little girl's writing about it. Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of time just to write what you think she would have written in her diary. So what did you write? Did you think that maybe the four children were adopted by the lady and they went to live in the big house? Did you perhaps write about that? Or did you mention that they might be going to school? I wonder what you wrote. I'd love to hear you reading. You could even read that last diary entry into Flipgrid, and then I could hear what you wrote. So all you have to do, you ask your parents' permission, of course, and then you go to flipgrid.com, a Microsoft program, and I'll be the only one that can see, and maybe the others that go in to record. Go to flipgrid.com, scroll down to where it says add a flip code, and add this code, FAE 94999. It will take you straight to the Flipgrid that I've set up, and all you do is click on the plus and you start reading. It's as easy as that. Then I'll come along and I'll listen. So let me repeat the code, FAE 94999. What you could do is what one of the girls in the class did. She read into Flipgrid, but she didn't want to show herself reading on Flipgrid, so she put this icon there instead. So when I listened, all I saw was the icon, but I could hear her reading her story. Don't you think that's an excellent idea? You can try that if you would like to. Let's review what we did in our lesson today. So you worked from Term 2, Week 5 and 6 of the CAPS curriculum for reading and viewing. You reviewed the elements of a diary. You had a quick discussion about the layout of a diary. You also had a quick discussion about problem solving, because our topic this week is, are you a problem solver? You made a prediction about today's story. I wonder if your prediction was correct. Then you read a story aloud with me, practiced your reading while you did that. You reviewed some of the vocabulary in the story. You answered questions about the story, and you sequenced events in the story. You also asked questions about the story and practiced using the question words. So we had a busy lesson as usual, and all I can say is well done. I'd like to invite you to the following lesson tomorrow. It is a language lesson for Term 2, Week 5 and 6. Hope to see you there. Here are some activities for you to try out this week. So first of all, practice your reading and read into Flipgrid if you'd like to. You could also read today's story on the Storyweaver website. It's called The Kids from the Suburbs. I changed it to the Children on the Hill, I think. So that brings our lesson today to an end. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bye.